Green Bay veterans report to training camp on July 25th at St. Norbert College as the Packers' quest for a second long-awaited Super Bowl season continues. We'll find out if they have what it takes to once again avoid underachieving with one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history as we preview training camp for the Green Bay Packers by going one-on-one with Bill Huber, publisher for Packer Report, on the OFN Meeting Room with Greg DePalma. All right, it's Tuesday, the 26th of June, 2018. I'm Greg DePalma. Thanks for tuning in to the OFN Meeting Room as we preview NFL training camps for the 2018 season with Packer Report publisher Bill Huber. Bill, thanks for helping us talk Green Bay Packers football today.
Happy to do it.
All right, Bill. So let's talk about, I think, one of the most important aspects of this offseason for the Packers, without a doubt, and that is no Ted Thompson running the show. Instead, it's Brian Gutekunst, who's been around the franchise for a very long time. So even though he's new to the outside world, he's been with the Packers since, what, 98?
Yeah, he was a graduate assistant at Wisconsin lacrosse, where he had played football, and the Packers were looking for some scouting interns. And John Dorsey was here, and he called Roger Herring, the longtime Hall of Fame coach at lacrosse, and asked for recommendations. He recommended Gutekunst. Dorsey called him and said, "Can you be here tomorrow?" And there you go.
Wow, that's the definition of a lifer right there. So how's it been going? Fans okay with everything that he's done so far?
Yeah, I mean, they're signing guys. I mean, Packers fans have wanted them to be active in free agency forever, and Thompson did some last year, but I mean, you look at, they got Jimmy Graham and Muhammad Wilkerson and Mercedes Lewis in free agency, and then, even in May and June, where Thompson had basically assembled his roster, through the draft, post-draft process, Gutekunst went on and got Mercedes Lewis and offensive lineman Byron Bell. So he added two veterans during a time where Thompson never signed veterans. So I think by and large Packers fans are happy. We'll see if it works. Okay. So and again, it's a very different ownership situation there. So then you're saying this was a Ted Thompson decision. This is the way he wanted to run the team, his personnel. Not like he was the guy, and that's it. Now there's a new GM. He's got a different way he wants to. So it wasn't like there was a money mandate as far as with Ted Thompson bringing in free agents. No, I mean they got money coming out of their pores. I mean they've been a top 10 revenue team for part of a decade now, if not longer. So money is never ever a problem here in Green Bay. They just the Lambeau Field that they renovated 15 years ago. I mean, I call it a 24/7, 365-day-a-year ATM for the team. They have gobs of money. They just never really chose to spend. I mean, they eventually spent their cap down. I mean, it wasn't like they were just wasting money.
Sure.
It's definitely a different way of doing things.
Okay. Talk about, before we get into the roster and even the new coordinators, I do want to ask you about Mike McCarthy. Now that there is a new GM, even though Ted Thompson is still with the organization, how safe is Mike McCarthy's job? Winning a Super Bowl, is that going to give him the opportunity to be here as long as Aaron Rodgers is here and they keep making playoffs without ever going back to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, you wonder about that. I mean, I know Brian. We had a conversation at the scouting combine with they're both together, and they seem to get along really well. I mean, it was kind of it wasn't an off the record conversation. It was kind of a laid back thing at a restaurant in Indy, and they seem very at ease with each other.
Okay.
But I mean, what does that mean? Right? I mean, it means nothing. At the end of the day, if they go 9-7 this year, and Gutekunst thinks that he's put together a heck of a roster, and they don't do anything with it, I wouldn't rule it out. Certainly not.
All right. Let's start with the offense. Joe Philbin is back, and even though McCarthy is still going to be the play caller, how will that influence the offense one way or another? Anything different at all with Philbin being back?
Well, I mean, the offense really suffered without him. When he was here for those 4 or 5 years, they were, I think, second or third in scoring. I think third behind the Saints and Patriots during that time, and they've really they've really stumbled. I mean, it wasn't just the collarbone injury last year. In 2015 they went through a long run on offense before they finally got going. In 2016, I think they had a span of 4 losses in 5 games. It had suffered under Bennett. Joe Philman is back. Mike McCarthy's words were they took a scrub brush to the offense. It's kind of they've gone back to the basics. I mean, rewrote everything, even starting with how they're going to huddle.
Okay.
More than what Philman's going to do here, though, it's the additions of Graham and Lewis that change things. I mean, I wrote a story a couple days ago for the site where the Packers had the 3rd fewest tight end snaps last year and the 2nd fewest tight end snaps in 2016.
Wow.
Now with Jimmy Graham and Mercedes Lewis and Lance Kendricks still here, I mean, they're going to have a lot more tight end snaps. It's going to be a different looking offense.
True.
I think they got overly reliant on Rodgers' ability to make something out of nothing in the ad-libbing part. And look, this is what Rodgers does so well. It's hard to get overly critical of it. I think they want to get more, I don't want to say get away from it, but try to speed things up a little bit.
Okay.
Obviously not restrain Rodgers from doing what he does, but I think they want to get away from being so reliant on Rodgers running around for a minute and a half every play.
All right, let's talk about the roster. Let's break it down. Quarterback situation, no need to waste any time talking about Aaron Rodgers' greatness. So we saw what Hundley did last year. Kaiser was brought in. So is it basically a backup competition for the number 2 spot? Yeah,
I mean, I would think it's going to be Kaiser. Only if you just look at the contracts. I mean, Kaiser's got 3 years left, and Hundley's in his last year. I mean, just for the sake of having some stability, I would think Kaiser would have the job. And, after Hundley struggled so badly last year after, 3 years in the offense, and really not much noticeable improvement going from start 3 to 5 to 7, I just can't imagine it's not going to be Kaiser. I mean, I'll tell you, though, neither one of them looked very good during the offseason stuff. I mean, I don't know what to make out of it either.
Sure.
But I can't say that either one set the world on fire in May and June.
Yeah, they still have some work to do possibly there, but they're young, and we'll see whether or not there's any development before the time comes because, by the way, no reason to think Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be here until he retires, right?
I don't know. I mean, he's said it a number of times now over the last several months that he would like to, but he knows it's not. He knows it might not work out that way. Obviously, it happened to Brett Favre, so that'll be interesting.
Okay.
He says things for reasons. There's not many slips of the tongue. He said that enough times where, I wouldn't bet the house on him being here in 5 years.
Okay. I mean, of course, it was a lot easier for Favre to leave with Aaron Rodgers behind him. And that's the trick, isn't it, is finding somebody that can make that decision a lot easier if you're the Packers, knowing how much it would cost to resign him at whatever point that is, and that you could turn the franchise over to another Aaron Rodgers, which they don't have right now. Yeah,
I mean, Kaiser's here through 2020. I mean, maybe... I know the Packers have been critical of the way that he was trained in Cleveland. Then again, I'm sure that's kind of a universal thought around the league with any team that I can't believe they're coaching so-and-so this way. They really blew it. So, but they sure like Kaiser's skill set. So maybe long-term he is the answer. Who knows?
Okay. Let's go running back. And now there are 3 running backs that are fighting for reps, Jones, Williams, and Montgomery. Look, from my point of view, especially coming into last season, I was actually high. Aaron Jones was a sleeper for me in the draft. Saw him played a lot in college. So I was pleasantly pleased when he played well before the injury. Also like Jamal Williams. And both of those running backs, if healthy, look really good to me. I just don't see any reason at all why I would waste much time. Okay, a couple reps here and there for Ty Montgomery is fine. Definitely find a way to make him a valuable part of the offense, but not a running back, not a number 1, and not even a number 2. I think there's other ways to use Montgomery, and I just think Jones and Williams are the real deal, and as long as they progress, I think it should be between those 2.
Yeah, it probably will be, too. Montgomery's injury history, which goes back to Stanford, as you know. I mean, how many eggs you want to put in that basket? With that said, we'll start with Jamal Williams.
Okay.
he was a workhorse. The second half of the year, he was third in the league in carries and fourth in touches. I mean, he got 1 million carries. He didn't do anything with them. I mean, he was a 3 and 4 yard runner, which is fine. But I mean, there was just not much explosibility there.
No, not compared to Aaron Jones.
I mean, Aaron Jones, on the other hand, second among running backs in yards per carry and second in 10-yard run rate, too, behind Kamara in both of those categories. I mean, he was a big play machine.
Yep.
But 2 MCL injuries.
Yep.
And a total 0 in the passing game. I mean, not just blocking. I mean,
no, you're right.
He couldn't catch. Even when he did catch, he didn't make anything out of it. So he's got to get better there. And then you got Montgomery with the injury history. With that said, he's probably the best 3-down running back. He blocks, he catches, and they like 3-down backs here because they go no huddle and they have no interest in substituting out one for the other on third down because then you lose your advantage. So is Ty Montgomery the best running back? No. But he's maybe their best pass catcher and blocker at the position. So I would say he's going to have a pretty big say in things. It might be one of those deals, too, where it's 1 week, maybe Aaron Jones is the guy.
Sure,
next week maybe it's Jamal Williams. The next week maybe it's we'll give them all a shot and see who has the hot hand. It might be a kind of a rotating sort of thing, a game-to-game sort of thing.
I mean, Patriots have done it and been successful, so why not? Packers definitely have guys, like you said, that have different skill sets, and why not use them that way from week to week based on the opponent? Talk about the tight ends. You already mentioned Jimmy Graham and Lewis and Kendricks, so this is a completely, especially with the top two, it's a much better unit than we've seen in a long time, as long as Jimmy Graham can stay healthy, so... it is what it is. We know what Graham and Lewis bring to the table, and it's just about keeping them healthy, right?
Yeah, this is, Graham gets all the headlines, and for obvious reasons. He's one of the all-time greats of catching the ball, but the Lewis addition is huge because now Graham can just go play receiver.
There you go.
If that's what you're going to do with him, now that's what you can do with him because Mercedes Lewis is going to block his butt off, and he'll catch. So I think Lewis really frees up the coaching staff to really have some fun with Graham.
All right, let's go to the wide receivers. No more Jordy Nelson. We heard all about how upset Aaron Rodgers was about how he took it. And we completely understand that, but we also know Aaron Rodgers is a pro. Once the season starts and everything goes well, as long as everything goes well, that'll be forgotten. Tom Brady's forgotten how many players like Wes Welker he's lost. So talk about the fact that Cobb is a little bit banged up right now. He's got the ankle injury. Adams is now definitely the true number one. But the biggest question, though, to me, besides Cobb staying healthy, of course, is going to be who's going to take over those third-string reps.
You're right, and assuming everyone's healthy, that's Jimmy Graham, right? I mean, but
that's true.
But with that said, Cobb's injury history is there. Adams has had the concussion stuff. At some point, you figure one of those guys is going to get hurt. So then, who is your starter? I mean, I don't really care so much about the number 3 guy on game days because he's probably not going to play a lot. But if Cobb or Adams gets hurt, who's going to play?
Yes.
A grand total of 47 receptions on the roster beyond Cobb and Adams. Everybody else has 47.
Okay.
Geronimo Allison has 35. Trevor Davis has 8. And Michael Clark has 4. And they drafted the 3 guys. I would think the front runners for number 3 to start the year is going to be Allison and 4th-round pick Jamon Moore, and I think ultimately maybe it's going to be Moore's job.
Okay.
The guy gets open. I mean, he is a real, again, I hate to base too much on the OTAs, but the guy runs routes. The first 2 yards at the line of scrimmage, he is murder. Now, let's see what happens, when DBs can actually get their hands on him and rough him up a little bit if he can still get open. But at the line of scrimmage, he wins all the time. He ran a slow 40 at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
Well, shoot, that's irrelevant. I mean, he ran past corners at OTA and minicamp, too. So I think he just had a bad day at the combine. But, yeah, he's got the speed. He's got route running. He caught the ball well. I know he dropped a bunch at Missouri. But he's kind of a Devontae Adams kind of player where, the athletic stuff isn't overwhelming. But he does a lot of things well. So I'm not comparing him to Adams because Adams is a proven player, but he could be in that mold.
Okay. So that's the guy to keep an eye on as far as the rookies, and if he continues to play like that during the preseason and training camp, he could very well be the number 3 guy and the number 1 guy off the bench if anything happens to the top 2. That's what you're
Right,
leaning
yeah,
towards.
I would think so. Again, Allison's a pretty decent player. We'll see.
Sure. Okay, let's talk about the offensive line. And the big question is Bulaga, who is coming off another ACL injury. So, he had the ACL 2013 on the other knee. So, November, he has this ACL. How's his status? Because that's pretty big for this offensive line, considering they really didn't add any big-time free agents. And, Madison, the rookie, was brought in. But Spriggs and Murphy haven't really looked like they are ready to take over any sort of big roles. Tell me whether or not you think that can change. So is this really all about Bulaga being healthy? And are you satisfied? Are the fans satisfied as far as the depth on this unit?
It's interesting. I've kind of said this a bunch of times here locally, that they've got a lot of right tackles and they don't have any right tackles, kind of all at the same time.
Okay.
You mentioned Spriggs. Then we got Spriggs, you got Murphy, and you got Bell. I mean, that's a lot of options. But, Spriggs has been kind of disappointing. Murphy played one game at right tackle last year. That was against Seattle in the opener. I thought he did pretty well, actually, against Averill and Bennett. And then Bakhtiari got hurt in that game, so then Murphy ends up playing left tackle for a couple games and struggled, ends up breaking his foot, and that was that for him. So he's got 3 games of experience, including one game where you need him to play. And Byron Bell's played a lot of football. He struggled with Dallas last year, but he was playing left tackle, and he's not a left tackle. So did he struggle because he's not very good, or did he struggle because he's just out of position? So they've got a lot of options. With Bulaga, when's he going to be healthy? If you look at the Week 1 game, that's 10 months after that injury. That's not far-fetched to come back after 10 months, hardly. So I don't know if he's ready to practice day 1, probably not, but maybe he's ready to practice either late in camp, or maybe he's ready to practice Week 1 of the regular season, and you're trying to get by for a couple weeks only. It'll be interesting to see the timeline. For as much as Bulaga's been hurt, he's also a really good athlete. He's a hard worker, and he's usually come back pretty quickly from things.
All right, but it doesn't sound like, though, again, with not many changes, that if Bulaga does come back, you think this line should be good enough when you have Aaron Rodgers to not have to worry about it hurting you and your chances of winning a Super Bowl, because I've seen worse offensive lines win championships. So, but it's all about Bulaga, right? Because if he's not healthy, there's big trouble.
Yeah, maybe. Again, Murphy played pretty well against Seattle. It's a one-game sample size.
Sure.
Who knows?
Okay.
But, yeah, the rest of the line's pretty good. They have a hole at right guard where T.J. Lang played for a bunch of years, and Jari Evans last year. It looks like it might be Justin McCray at this point, who was kind of a jack-of-all-trades kind of guy. But, I've always thought if you have one weak spot in the line, you're probably fine.
Yes, I agree.
It's when you have 2, when you have problems. So as long as Bulaga's back,
that's right.
They'll be fine. Lidley's a really good center. Bakhtiari is about as good as it gets left tackle.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. By the way, anything yet with the rookies, Madison, the draft pick, and even I know Alex Light was an intriguing prospect from Richmond, the free agent. So anything yet from what you have heard or seen yourself at rookie minicamp or the other camps?
Yeah, I pay no attention to the line stuff. When the pads come out, I will pay super close attention and chart the one-on-ones and everything. But I mean, who knows?
Okay, sounds good. Fair enough.
They were Madison was second team at guard throughout the offseason. But again, who knows?
All right,
super smart guy, and they really like him.
Okay, let's go to defense and new coordinator there, and that is Mike Pettin. What's the feeling so far around camp with Mike Pettin now in charge?
As Mike Pettin himself said, everything is good now because his defense is not giving up a single yard. That was Pettin's line. It was a great one. You know what? He's a great pick for this team.
Sure.
Green Bay's pass defense has been horrible the last 2 years. Last year they were 31st in opponent pass rating, ahead of only Cleveland. Mike Pettin, if you take his the totality of his years as a head coach and coordinator, his defense is ranked number 1 in passer rating. So from that standpoint, that's a good hire. They got to fix the pass defense, because everybody knows if you can't stop the pass, you've got no chance of winning football games that matter. We'll see. That everyone seems to like him for now. The history certainly is there, and he's got a lot better on paper, a lot better group of DBs than Dom Capers had his last few years.
No, that's true.
I think scheme and coaching is all well and good, but if you don't have players, it doesn't matter. I think they've got better players than they've had here in a while.
All right, well, let's touch up on the secondary first then. You bring Tremont Williams back, the veteran. You've got the top 2 picks, Alexander and Jackson. King is in his second season. And then you've got your safeties there, Jones and Dix. So first talk about the corners. And it does look like on paper, from what we know from these 2 rookies, these 2 top picks, and, of course, bringing back Williams, who had a steady, solid season last year, that they should be fine there as long as those kids develop.
Yeah, that's the big if. We'll start with Kevin King, their top pick last year. He had the shoulder problem at Washington, then ends up shutting him down here his rookie year. But, he played really well against Julio Jones week 2. And then they matched him against Jones in that game, and A.J. Green the following week against Cincinnati. He did pretty well. He's rare. I mean, there are, as you know, there aren't many 6'3" corners to begin with, but there aren't many 6'3" corners that run 4.4.
That's right.
I wrote the story before, and this is not exaggeration. He is, if you take the height and the speed, he is arguably the most gifted cornerback prospect the league has ever seen. He's 6'3" and runs 4.4. When have you seen that? It doesn't mean he can play.
That's right. You got to translate that. Yep.
But even with the shoulder injury last year, he tackled his butt off. So you like that part of the physical stuff, and that he just kind of powered through the injury. So I like that. We'll see if he can play. Tremont Williams. If you look at the Pro Football Focus numbers, he was one of a handful of corners last year who gave a 50% catch rate or less at age 34. So he knows the defense. He knows Pettin. He likes being here. With all those young corners, they need a mentor, and Tremont Williams is.
That's right.
He's one of the most selfless people I've ever met. I asked him a few weeks ago. You're training your potential replacement, and he just took me to surprise. Says, yeah, he embraces that. It's kind of the way he was brought up with Charles Woodson here. Woodson was the older guy when Williams was younger, and it's kind of rubbed off on him that he's training his replacement, and he doesn't seem to care about it.
That's the type of guy you want.
Yep. Selfless as can be and still can play. Alexander, he's almost certainly going to be their slot guy to start the season, if nothing else. And Josh Jackson, you heard all those speed questions coming in the draft. I haven't seen any of it. He's fine. He got his hands on more footballs than anybody during the offseason stuff.
That ain't a surprise.
Yeah, he just he seems to know what's coming.
Yeah.
So is he the fastest guy? Maybe he's not, but you can make up for
That's right.
quote unquote lack of play speed. Which again, I didn't see it. You can make up for that if you're just super smart and know what the heck you're doing. That seems to be Jackson. I talked to Kirk Ferentz after the draft, and Ferentz laughed at the speed questions. So, and then don't forget about Devon House too, who I think fans kind of forgot was really, really good the first half of last year. Then he just got a whole bunch of injuries and wasn't very good down the stretch. So you got 5 corners.
That's right.
And look, in 2016, maybe these guys go to the Super Bowl, but Sam Shields is out for the year. Quentin Rollins had a groin injury that required surgery, and Randall had a groin injury that required surgery. So they're out of corners in 2016. And last year too, King is out on injured reserve. House is banged up. They're out of corners last year too. So you've got, again, on paper, who knows, but they got a lot of corners.
Well, the Packers, like you said, they have definitely invested. They have not wasted chance. Well, you've tried. You can't hurt the Packers for trying with a bunch of early round picks over the last 3 years at that spot. And sooner or later, you're going to get it right. And I really do believe they're going to get it right this year. Alexander and Jackson rated our lads number 2 and number 3 corners coming into the draft, and for good reason. So you throw in King, and he takes a big step in year 2. That's huge. I'm a little bit more concerned. You tell me if I'm right or wrong about the safeties. We know what Clinton Dix can do. Jones, maybe he develops in a little bit more, but I'm a little bit concerned with the depth at safety. So tell me how they're going to work that in, and also how confident you are that Jones can continue to get better.
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. It's going to be Josh Jones against Kentrell Bryce for that safety spot. Now, maybe Jones ends up playing a bunch of linebacker too, like he played last year.
Yes.
So Bryce plays a bunch anyways. But Kentrell Bryce, an undrafted guy in 16, had a really good rookie year. He just knocked people's blocks off. Cole Beasley, for one, in the playoffs.
Okay.
And Mike McCarthy raved about his communication and his intelligence here a couple weeks ago. So Bryce has got a real shot at it. And Jones, big and fast. He didn't play very well last year, and that's not me saying it. That's Josh Jones saying it. Josh Jones is not happy with how he played. He made no excuses, even though the coaches said that they put way too much on his plate last year and kind of overwhelmed him. So you'll like that mindset that Jones has. So that's going to be an interesting battle. Will it be Jones versus Bryce? Will it be kind of a timeshare with then Jones playing some linebacker? It'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. I mean, they didn't draft anybody, and the only safety they brought in was Raven Green from James Madison. So it'll be an interesting battle there. And Clinton Dix, of course, Pro Bowler in 16, took a step back last year. I just think he was bored last year.
Okay.
Capers had him playing, 500 yards from the line of scrimmage because the corners are bad and the pass rush stunk. And so they needed Clinton Dix to play pre-bent defense, and I think he got bored and played pretty poorly because of it.
The Packers not going to have an issue bringing him back after this season?
Well, that'd be interesting. A, he could play poorly, and you don't want him back.
Sure.
Or B, he could play great, and you can't afford him.
Yeah, that's
so.
Good point.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Okay.
I would think they'd bring him back, but because it's a defense that needs playmakers, and you're not getting better if Clinton Dix returns to form, and then you let him go.
And by the way, Bryce, he missed half the season last year, right?
Ankle injury. He had an early season ankle injury. He played through it for a few weeks, and then they shut him down. And he had surgery, but he looks full go. And again, they missed him last year. I mean, as much as you talk about the other injuries, I mean, here's a guy. He runs and he hits. I mean, he could have played center field, and you could have put Clinton Dix in some better positions.
How much are they going to miss Randall?
Well, he's number 2 in that draft class in interceptions, so they miss him as a playmaker. They don't miss that he was always hurt.
Okay.
They don't miss that he decided not to play the last couple of games, even though he was questionable on the injury report. And there's some serious toughness and maturity questions there. So maybe this is a wake-up call for him, too, because he's a heck of a player.
All right, let's go to linebackers. And Blake Martinez has really developed at one spot. So has Jake Ryan. Me being a big Michigan fan, I always felt that Jake Ryan would be a good pro. So they're making a really nice combo inside linebacker situation there for the Packers. But it's all about sacks with this defense for years. And Nick Perry has done a good job. So that was much needed. You got Clay Matthews, who is still doing a solid job as well. I think they combined for about 15 sacks last year. And there's also some interesting depth there. Beagle, Fackrell, the 2 rookies, including Burks, the early draft picks. So it does look like this unit has more depth and talent than they've had in a long time. Yeah,
the pass rush is the question here. Matthews and Perry are fine. One of them is always hurt. And, Kyler Fackrell, their third-round pick a couple years ago, hasn't panned out. And Vince Beagle, their fourth-round pick last year, didn't do anything as a rookie, but he had surgery on both feet after the draft, so you can kind of chalk that up to that. They didn't draft anybody other than Kendall Donnerson in the 7th round, a kind of a Hail Mary on a guy who runs like crazy. It's going to be improved from within there and hope you cover. And the back end gets to there so you can get some pass rush. Inside linebacker, I think, Jake, I think Ryan's underrated. He can't help you much in the passing game, but at some point you have to stop the run. He's pretty good there. I'll be interested to see Burks.
Okay.
I mean, there's a guy he's the new age linebacker. He's what teams want.
That's right.
He played safety at Vandy, so he's got that coverage skill. But he's not one of those 6'1", 215-pound, 220-pound linebackers. I mean, he is 6'3", and a legit 6'3", too, where I'm looking up at him in the locker room. So if he can play, now you've got another guy who can play coverage, and that's what this game is all about. So they've got a shot to be pretty good. I think the depth at outside linebacker and and even inside linebacker too, you wonder about the depth, but starting wise, they're probably okay.
Have they not yet tried Burks outside? I know he's got some versatile traits, so that's possible, right?
Yeah. I mean, they probably took a couple snaps outside just as as stunts and whatnot.
Okay.
But yeah, I think from now they'll
not as a full-time guy though.
An inside linebacker who can go cover guys, because that's what they need.
Yeah, and the question though is the same thing with the offensive line. Even especially you take a look at if anything were to happen to Matthews or Perry, then there's an issue because there just isn't.
And something is going to happen, which is why I've gone the last 2 years saying outside linebackers are the number one need, and they haven't really filled it. Now Mike Patton will tell you that interior rush is more important than edge rush.
Uh-huh.
Maybe he's saying that because that's just reality of what he's got in the team. But right now, Reggie Gilbert's probably their top backup, the undrafted free agent from Arizona a couple years ago. That's kind of where they are.
Yeah. Well, hey, trust me, I'm a Jet fan, so I know how painful it is. I think Jet fans would love to have Clay Matthews and Nick Perry on the outside on their team. So.
And these guys would too if they can play all 16 games.
That's true.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They are, Perry has been hurt a lot. He's just a super physical player, but his body doesn't seem to respond to it. And at this point, Matthews is 31 going on 32.
Contract runs out after this year. What do you think happens? They bring him back if he plays well enough?
I would say so. I mean, again, if you're going to get rid of guys, you better replace them. And right now they got nobody in the pipeline. Maybe Beagle takes a big step, and maybe Fackel responds to the new scheme, and maybe Reggie Gilbert is the greatest undrafted free agent in the history of mankind. But
yeah, not likely.
At this point, they don't have anybody.
Yeah. And look, you've mentioned it a few times, and we should definitely emphasize it. The Packers, even though they have struggled on defense, we just go down the list, and the injuries have just been incredible over the last couple of years. I mean, one guy after another. They have to stay healthy. And if they can do that, and Mike Pettin, maybe he gets lucky, something that Dom Capers did not have on his side with injuries. All right, let's talk about the defensive line. Mo Wilkerson, huge addition to go along with Kenny Clark and Mike Daniels. This has got to be the best defensive line that you have seen with the Packers in quite a while as far as talent is concerned. And with some of the question marks there potentially at linebacker, this definitely makes up for it. So how happy are the Packers knowing that these three guys are going to be lighting up for them?
Yeah, I mean, the Rams have a better D-line than the Packers do, but, I mean, there's nobody else that immediately comes to mind. I don't spend enough time watching the rest of the league. Maybe you can tell me a couple other teams off the top of your head, but these guys are loaded. Mike Daniels is a three-time member of the NFL Network Top 100 group. Kenny Clark had 4.5 sacks the last 5 games of the year. Dean Lowry can line up anywhere on the D-line and help you out. Mo Wilkerson, we'll see. I mean, he's a 2-time Pro Bowler with the Jets who had a couple big years there. Has played under Mike Pettin, and he's probably quite motivated now that he lost a lot of money getting dumped by the Jets and settled on a 1-year deal with the Packers. So he's got plenty of motivation to kind of rekindle his career. And then they drafted Montrevious Adams in the 3rd round last year, and his rookie season, like Vince Spiegel we talked about before,
injuries
was ruined by an early foot injury, so he had no training camp.
Yep.
So Montrevious Adams is number 5 in your group, a 3rd-round pick who was the fastest 300-pound player at that combine. He's number 5.
Yeah.
And then you drafted Looney in the 7th round of Cal.
Uh-huh.
That's 6.
Uh-huh.
And then they got a couple undrafted guys who are pretty good in Lancaster from Northwestern and
Yes.
Wisconsin. I'm telling you, and they signed Joey Mbu, who's played for the Colts and Falcons.
Okay.
I'm telling you, every one of these guys will get paid this year.
Hey, look.
Everybody on this roster right now will be under contract here or somewhere this season. This is a loaded group.
Yes. I mean, I interviewed Lancaster before the draft, and I like him. I know Dan Shonka likes him. So, yeah, that's a guy that's going to try to fight his way on the roster and at some point. So, yeah, I agree. Definitely a unit that Packers haven't seen in a while, and maybe they could, again, stay healthy. If this defense stays healthy and some of these young kids grow up fast, See, I haven't really bought into the whole Packer thing over the last few years myself. I know anytime you have Aaron Rodgers, it's an easy, sexy pick. But this is the first year in a few years that I'm actually saying, you know what? If these guys can stay healthy on defense, there's more talent on that roster on defense they've had in years. And I think this could be it. But that's the magic word, isn't it? Stay healthy offensively, defensively, offensive line, few spots on defense, including the pass rush. If they can do that with Aaron Rodgers, no reason to think that this can't finally be the year they go back to the Super Bowl.
You're right. Again, it's probably the way it is with every team other than New England. I mean, it's ifs and ifs, but the Packers' ifs aren't far-fetched. They have enough corners where you figure they'll find three who can go play. They have enough defensive linemen who've proven that they can play that. If your outside linebackers can't rush the passer that well, you'll be okay. So yeah, I'm with you. I think these guys got a real shot at it.
All right. Before I let you go, Bill, tell me a little bit about Packer Insider. How long have you been with them?
I've been with Packer Report full time since 2008. We were, honest to God, created by Ray Nitschke. Before Nitschke retired, he started Ray Nitschke's Pro Report, and that is the genesis of Packer Report. So I am.
Wow.
It's the only way I would ever follow in the footsteps of a Hall of Fame linebacker.
See, you're a lifer too.
There you go.
So that's good. By the way, the other draft pick, the punter, J.K. Scott, they really like him, right?
I haven't seen enough good punters in my lifetime here to know, but this guy is just different. I mean, if you have a 4.5 second hang time punt, that's good stuff.
Yeah. Well,
during the two practices that he punted in front of us that I charted, those 2 days combined, his hang time was almost 4 3/4. The kid's got a bomb of a leg, and I thought it was the stupidest draft pick ever because the average, if you take the net average of the number 8 punter, which the Packers had last year, they had the number 8 punter in the league last year. If you take number 8, like number 24, the difference is like 2 yards per punt. The kids are ripping about 2 yards, but this guy, he can kick it.
Yeah, he was a record breaker for Alabama, a starter for 4 years, and he's been around a lot of winning, and he's been a very valuable part of that team and their defense and positioning. So it looks like you got a good one. Mason Crosby, 15 of 19 last year, but so a little bit surprised that he has not been a little bit better, especially from deep. Are you a little bit surprised about that, or what's that whole? I mean, from the outside, he's got a strong leg. How come he hasn't been more consistent from deep?
Well, last year he had they had a merry-go-round with snappers, which is why they drafted Hunter Bradley in the 7th round. But
okay.
They went from.
That makes sense.
I think he had 3 snappers last year, and the punter wasn't probably the best holder you've ever seen. There was just a lot of stuff last year around Mason.
Okay.
He's a pretty good kicker. I mean, not an elite kicker, but he's pretty good, and he knows how to handle December in Lambeau Field, which is pretty important.
All right, and also kicking unit looks real good with Trevor Davis. The only weakness potentially is just the kick return team. That was an issue last year for them.
Yeah, in the snapper, Hunter Bradley, he put a few in the dirt.
Okay.
During OTs again, May and June. I don't know how much you want to make out of it, but
sure.
He struggled a bit. But the guy who's been here for 1,000 years, Brett Good, will probably be on speed dial.
Bill, I appreciate you taking your time to talk to us today, and we look forward to talking to you again, and maybe Packers will be back in the Super Bowl again this season.
All right, have a great day. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Bill. All right, that is Bill Huber, and yes, that is Packer Report. What did I say, Packer Insider? Bad job, Greg. Packer Report. But anyway, Bill did a great job, and looking forward to talking to him this season. So I know everybody's going to say, well, yeah, of course, like Bill said, of course, yeah, Packers, they get Aaron Rodgers, they can always go to the Super Bowl, and people are going to pick them. But I wanted to stress that, yeah, people do pick them. I mean, I picked them the year before they won the Super Bowl. No, I picked them, the year before they won the Super Bowl. Then the year they won the Super Bowl. But then after that, I don't think I've taken them since. And I'm not sure about McCarthy, to tell you the truth. I'm not saying he can't win a second Super Bowl. You have Aaron Rodgers. That's a big help. But this year, I don't know. I mean, I just like everything else about this team, and it's that big game, big decision stuff with Mike McCarthy that I'm just a little bit unsure of. but Aaron Rodgers can mask some of those potential issues. And if they can stay healthy, watch out for the Green Bay Packers this year. And I haven't said that in a few years myself. All right, so that is going to wrap it up here. We will be back again tomorrow for more training camp coverage on the Ourlads Football Network as we talk, Indianapolis Colts and Cleveland Browns football. Don't forget to order a subscription of your choosing, including the 2018 Ourlads NFL Draft Review Guide, right here at ourlads.com. Follow us on Twitter at PrimeSN. Receive our on-demand media alerts for every OFN show and interview, including this one. And thanks for listening to this edition of the OFN Meeting Room with Greg DePalma on the Ourlads Football Radio Network, where it's never too early to think about the start of the 2018 football season.